Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it. But
increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you. Hi, welcome everybody to the Master Connector Show. I'm Rob Genovesi, and we may or may not have technical difficulties here. Apparently, I may have audio, but no video, or I might be frozen. We're going to march on anyway, and as long as you can hear me, we can still make things happen. This is technology. It's the age we live in. We're so dependent on it that when it works, it is so good. But when it doesn't work, it's almost like disaster can strike. But we're going to keep moving on. Like I said, we're going to have a little bit of a different show today. Normally we have a guest on today. And so we don't have a guest today, but we have Steve and I. And what's actually good about that is, if you know our story a little bit, Steve and I are introverts. We are two former shy guys. And we go back about 27 years to when we first met. We met through a common business. And we had some similar mentors, but both of us started out clueless in different areas. I definitely was more clueless than Steve was. I had a lot to learn. I just couldn't. I had stage fright, even when I wasn't on stage. Even if I was one-on-one with a person, I couldn't talk, really couldn't talk. I had to develop some confidence, to kick some fear aside, had to develop some speaking skills, some people skills to learn how to actually engage with people. Our paths diverged somewhere along the line, but we came back several years ago through networking, through connecting. And that's what this show is all about. The Master Connector Show is all about building community and creating connections with each other, because all amazing things come out of collaborative efforts. I'm totally convinced of that. Because of my experience trying to go it alone initially in business, I was going to do it myself. I was going to leverage technology, and it was only going to be me with no employees or nothing. And that didn't work out so well. Not only was it not as profitable, but it wasn't as fun either. Every time you do something with somebody, it's always going to be fun. So I'm going to bring Steve on here. But, Steve is the Master Connector. And like I said, he's got a journey of his own. And we're going to talk about some stuff today that might involve some of our journeys. But we're going to be talking about, finding your true inner brand. And both of us have brands. I'm a brand builder. Steve is building a couple of brands, a personal brand and, a business brand. And so we're going to bring up, Steve Spiro, the Master Connector. He has got two multiple degrees in two different disciplines, two black belts, multiple degrees in two different disciplines, if I could say that right. So he's got some butt kicking ability. He started in business early, ran an advertising agency. But look, Steve has overcome dyslexia, learning disabilities. We were both bullied as kids. And now here we are, we're putting ourselves out there and fighting off the haters and loving the lovers. But, so good to be back here with Steve doing something new. But hey, Steve, thanks for calling me up one day and say, hey, you want to do this show with me? Because a lot of good stuff is coming out of this.
I'll tell you what, I appreciate you, Rob. And yeah, it's been a great partnership. And, you've been an amazing friend and advisor. And, early on, when I was trying to find my way on how to leverage LinkedIn and build a speaking career, you said, hey, you should think about video. And that started my journey. And here we are today. And so it's been a blessing and been fun. And I've learned a lot. I've seen you, from afar. I've seen you close up, and just amazing things, what you're doing. But what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And today, Rob and I are going to speak about finding your true inner brand. And we're going to delve into the distinction between personal and a company brand, exploring how they differ in the essence and execution. And through introspection, introspective questions, I should say, we will navigate the journey of identifying the unique qualities and values we wish our personal brand to embody, and aligning it authentically with our beliefs and our personality. There's also going to be a special cameo visit with a preview of my my preview and sneak preview of my new sizzle reel, which I'm excited about that. And but ultimately, we will unravel strategies to leverage our distinctiveness in a crowded marketplace, aiming to evoke specific emotions or feelings in our audience, and encounters with our brand. Uh, and it's been a journey. I've learned a lot along the way, and I continue to learn. So we're gonna have a great time today. So if you're ready, now I want you to type in "Let's go" because I'm gonna actually, because we don't have a guest, and Rob and I are going to banter back and forth. I'm kind of going to treat him like a guest, if you will. So I'm going to introduce you because you guys know me. I know I've been part of the show since the beginning, but crazy, this is episode 160. But let me tell you a little bit about Rob. All right, my man Rob Genovesi. Right, he's a brand builder. After 25 years in the creative industry, having worked in advertising, marketing, and publishing, Rob launched his brand and design company, offering strategy, design, and coaching for mid-sized businesses looking to stand out from their competition. With the success of that business, Rob partnered with another brander to launch an online branding community designed to teach the self-employed how to build a brand in a supportive, collaborative, and fun environment. Rob's networking journey started out, like most, simply looking for referrals, but he quickly realized there's more to networking than just transaction. Rob seeks to find opportunity with each person he meets in order to create something of value going beyond the referral. He builds his brand. He builds his network on LinkedIn by meeting people who align in his goals, and as well as real life by starting and building business networking chapters through the organization Master Networks. Rob loves spending time hanging out at home with his wife, kids, dog, and cat in between golf. So bring him back here, my man, good friend of 27 years, fellow introvert, Mr. Rob Genovesi. Appreciate you big time.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that introduction. When I listened to that, I'm like, I feel like maybe I might have done something, but I haven't done anything yet. It's always just getting started. But I appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely. And again, I'm seeing you blank as a black screen. So community, I know there's John. We appreciate having you on here. Olympia, good to see you. If you are seeing Rob and me normally, could you let us know? That would be great. But thank you, John, for typing in "Let's go." And I want to start and kick this off, and then we're gonna go organic a little bit here, and so we're gonna bounce back and forth. I might ask a question, but Rob probably will turn it back and ask me, or I'll jump in or whatever. It's going to be a little different, like Rob said. And then right in about 5 minutes, we're going to pull up Alexander, who just popped in right now, just on perfect timing. So we're going to pop in and we'll have a little sneak preview here, chat with him a little bit. But hey, Rob, want to kick off by asking, you're the brand guy, the brand builder, right? What's the difference between personal brand and a company brand?
Oh man, this is like an eternal question, Steve. I talk about this all the time. I get the question not as straightforward as that, but a lot of people I work with, and I work with mainly solopreneurs who have that challenge because they're the person running the business. They also have the business. What is the difference between a personal brand, which is the person, and the business brand, which is the company? What is the difference? How do you straddle both? How does that work? Let me tell you something. It's nuance as anything. It's really kind of tough to navigate, but I will tell you this straight up. Personal brand, as we know, which was popularized by the rise of social media way back in the 2000s. Before that, nobody really talked about personal brand. And influencers became the original personal branders because that's what they did. They showed up, they exuded their personality and their style of delivering whatever message they had. They became popular and famous and well followed. So they developed a quote unquote personal brand, but a lot of them didn't have a company that they were repping. So that's why they could stand on their own. Now, traditionally, and going back, hundreds of years, if not thousands, right, there was always the company brand, the organization that has the name and the logo and the message and the service or product what they're putting out there, that company brand that we're so familiar with. So we're so familiar with that. What does it mean when you're doing both, or are you doing both? And we've answered this question a lot inside my organization, Famaru, where we help solopreneurs create and develop their own brand. The bottom line is this: Your company does what it does. It has a name, it has an identity via the logo and the color and the typeface and all that, the design, the messaging, the ideal client. It has all that. It should have a strategy for attracting the ideal client to the company in order to sell a product or service. The personal brand, even though you may be the person running it, is the person who is representing the company, number one, but number two, the person who is out there with their personal message to connect with people human to human. So I could be out there just being Rob Genovesi brand builder, but I've got a couple of companies behind me that I can drive people to. So if I build my personal brand that people go, Rob Genovesi, he's that brand builder. You know, I like his message. I like what he has to say. They follow me on LinkedIn. And if they reach out to me and they go, hey, can you help me? I can guide them to one of my companies. So that's where the difference is. You have to show up as yourself. But when you show up in the company, you're repping the company. Keep them separate. But by the way, here's the golden ticket. Here's the ultimate question that a lot of people ask that a lot of people aren't answering. You need to build both. Period. 100% end of story. Without a doubt. So that's a short answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Very, very well thought through. And it sounds like from what John's saying, that everyone could see both of us, which is awesome.
Perfect.
Hey, Denise, great seeing you again. You know, what's interesting is, you know, not everyone listening to this has a company, right? They might be, you know, working for a company. And there's a buzzword that I hear today, which is an entrepreneur. There's not just an entrepreneur, but entrepreneur. Somebody who's kind of, you know, creating, you know, treating their business or, you know, their job inside of a company as if their own business, right? In other words, they're taking ownership. But regardless of whether you're working for somebody, have your own company, you should have a personal brand. And I think it's so vital. And, you know, one of the things that I think of when I think of kind of that personal brand, the first guy that comes to mind, and I put a post about it, which is Gary Vee. You know, he created this personality, and then he was able to, you know, launch several companies piggybacking off that. So sometimes you build a company and then you know, become the person, you know, backing the company, and then that brand kind of, you know, comes forefront. But it can happen often both ways, or, you know, so just something that I've noticed over the years, you know, guys like Richard Branson.
You bring up Gary Vee. He's a great example of that. And we just
Yeah.
covered him in a lesson inside FAMRU where we're teaching people, you know, how do you illustrate the personal brand versus company brand? And, you know,
Yeah.
Gary Vee, if people don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, he started out working in his dad's wine store in New Jersey.
Right.
And he took it from a $4 million company to over $60 million. And what he did was he was just the guy who took advantage of social media early on in the 2000s, got on YouTube and was reviewing wines. And he's very brash. He's very, you know, he's very kind of assertive. He's got a definite assertive style about him, but he's got a
He's
good
in your
message.
face.
Yeah, he likes to drop the F-bombs every other word, you know. But aside from that, what he essentially did was he became kind of famous as the wine guy, but he was smart enough to not brand himself the wine guy. He knew so much about social media and then eventually marketing. It's his thing.
Yeah.
He's a serial entrepreneur ever since he
Right.
was, you know, 7 years old. And what he did was he parlayed what he did for his dad's wine store, but turned his own brand into a guy who understands marketing and can get attention. He had a message. And today, if you listen to him this day, the thing he talks about is attention as a commodity. He's coming out with a new book called Day Trading Attention. It hasn't even released yet. I can't wait to get this. But think about this for a second. Here's a guy he is a thought leader, right? But everybody know him as Gary Vee, Gary Vee, Gary Vee, Gary Vee. But did you know he has at least 9 companies? At least.
Yeah.
And most people can't name 2.
Right.
Most people know VaynerMedia.
You know Gary Vee.
But there's right. But there's a ton of them. So it's a great example of Gary Vee, the personal brand, the guy with the message. But if you go to VaynerMedia and you look at that, well, it's a different message. It's a different clientele. It's a different representation.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of messaging and you know, amazing people, we have Alex Siwick. I believe I'm saying his name right. I've never used his last name, so hopefully he'll if I need to be corrected. But it's been just a quick story, and then we'll bring him up. Alex was so I met through LinkedIn Erica Rothenberger, and she I met her through networking through LinkedIn, and I saw she had this amazing sizzle reel, and I'm like, that is awesome, Erica. You need to tell me who that person put your sizzle reel together. You got to reach out to my man Alex. Well, I did, and had a couple great conversations, and what an amazing man. And he also brought in his buddy who's a still photographer. We had a day of shooting. It was awesome. Best experience I've ever had. And the content is looking great. So it's been a blessing. I want you, community, I want you to meet him. We're gonna maybe ask him a question or two. We're gonna queue up the video. And so let's bring up Mr. Alex Siwick. And again, if I'm saying your name wrong, I'm so sorry, Alex. Alex,
Hey,
good to see you.
Good to see you too, Steve. You were pretty spot on with the last name, so I'm impressed. Good job.
I appreciate that.
But thank you.
Yeah, it's so funny.
For me on.
Yeah, people butcher my name, but it's just Spiro. It's like, whatever, But yeah, great having you on here, sir. You guys, you can see us fine. No freezing going on our end.
Can you hear us, Alex?
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yep,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yep. Good.
All right, cool. Yeah. Well, Alex, just tell everybody, if you were on a networking call, maybe like 20, 30 seconds of, who you are, what you do, and we would love to hear a little bit of you. And then maybe if you want to just, queue up the video, we have the video that we're going to play here that the teaser video, but maybe lead into that. And then, maybe we'll close down after the video plays. We'll say a few, have you say a couple of words, and then we'll put you back in the green room. So
Absolutely.
There you go, Alex.
Sounds good. So hello, everybody. My name is Alex Siwick, and I'm the owner of Forefront Film Company. I help build brands, both personal small brands and larger brands, through visual storytelling. And I've always been a storyteller, filmmaker. It's my background. And I love working with people to help elevate their brands through social media, website content, and beyond. So recently, I had the pleasure of working with Steve Spiro. Myself and Dylan Ettinger went up to Connecticut from Philadelphia, and we had an awesome shoot, an awesome day. And I really enjoyed getting to know Steve's story. So when I work with personal brands, one of the big things for me is really getting to know their story. Because, of course, like a bigger company, there are similar things, there are similar brand aspects and everything on that end. But with a personal brand, you really have to get to know that person's story. Because at the end of the day, if you are making a speaker reel for a keynote speaker, they're going to get hired based on how they convey themselves and how their brand is portrayed through visuals and on their social media and what people are consuming. So I really love to sit down, get to know that person, get their life story, because if I'm not able to show who they really are through video and bring out their character and personality, then I'm really not doing my job right. So I had a blast working with Steve, and so excited to show what the sizzle reel is looking like so far. It's coming along really awesome. We had an awesome packed day of shooting, and can't say how great of an experience it was getting to work with Steve. And Steve, if you have the video,
Actually, don't bring it up yet. Don't bring it up yet.
I think
Steve.
Rob.
Hold on a second. I'm going to jump right in there. So Alex, good to meet you. We haven't met yet, but I did check out the sizzle reel, and I want to say something really important that ties into what we're talking about. Alex, audience, Alex is talking about their story, talking about personal brands, talking about your story. That story is so key to connecting with people. And I don't want Steve to play the video yet, because the point is this. When Alex does a sizzle reel, which is essentially, maybe 30 or 60 seconds or more to promote somebody's endeavors. Essentially, that's what a sizzle reel is. If you're a speaker, you see these a lot. And so they're meant to be able to connect, to help the audience understand, hey, maybe we should bring this person in to speak to our people, to motivate, to inspire, to educate them, right? So there has to be a connection, right? Branding is about connect to attract. And that's what Alex is talking about here. And I actually caught this, Alex, Steve sent me over the snippet that he's about to play. I gotta tell you, I've seen a lot of sizzle reels. This is, audience, highly professional, highly polished, highly on the money. And what I want everybody to take note of is notice how personal it is. It's not just business Steve. it's a peek inside Steve's life a little bit. So it's really important to witness that.
Thanks, Rob.
Absolutely. You stole a lot of things I was going to say. So let's let the audience see this, and then we'll bring you back on, Alex, for a minute or two to wrap up. So check it out, guys.
Hey, what's going on, friends? It's Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct.
Steve Spiro, you're a mentor, you're a consultant, you're a business owner, but most importantly, you're a host of your own show, and you're also a master connector.
When I would talk to people and be others focused, it was not natural. It was like working out. But when I wound up doing it, it was like working out. It was amazing. I felt really good about myself. I felt like I was making a difference.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to start to, show my vulnerability and lead with my weakness. And the more I did that, the better I felt, the better I connected with people, the more powerfully confident I was, because I wasn't hiding myself, right? I was showing who I was.
What can I do to add value? How can it be a blessing? I want to hear your story. And I started to share my story. In those stories, I told about being dyslexic and learning disabled. I found what happened is the walls came down. It broke barriers.
Amazing job. Well done, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Incredible.
I had a great time making it so far. Something about getting to work with personal brands is it's different every time. And I really get to know so many different people and getting to know their stories. So thank you for the opportunity, Steve, for bringing this out there.
I highly recommend you reach out to Alex. He's an incredible talent, and he's got resources that he can refer you to. And maybe your brand doesn't call for a video per se, although I think anyone can use something like this. I really do. And when I say brand, I mean personal brand. But Alex is an incredible guy to work with. It was so easygoing. I can't tell the story, but we had this crazy situation that happened the day of the shoot. Major curveball, but Alex and his buddy Dylan, they just rolled with the punches, and we were able to make it work no matter what. And it was just an awesome experience. So make sure you reach out to him for sure. But we appreciate it. I appreciate that, Denise. But anyway, Alex, great seeing you. We're going to keep on moving with the show here, but really a blessing being on with you.
Thank you,
sir.
Take care.
We'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Right.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, he's
man.
really good guy. Really talented.
Yeah.
So Rob, I want to move on here with a question or community. I don't know if we're doing this, but hashtag values. If we want to get back to the original, there you go. What unique value, qualities or values do when you're talking about myself or a person should that personal brand embody?
Values. I'm glad you asked this. Values are so incredibly important when it comes to your brand and so overlooked. And I teach this all the time. And to business owners, they go, yeah, and they dismiss it because it sounds a bit superfluous. It sounds like fluff. It sounds like, well, I know what's important to me. I don't really need to write it down or share it. Let me tell you why values are one of the most important foundational elements of a brand. Here's why. Especially when we talk about personal brand, it applies to company brand too. When people know what you're all about, they know whether they're in line with you. They know and feel connection. So look at it this way. If you state your core values, what you're doing is you're establishing upfront what your culture is. So people know how to behave, number one, inside your organization. But number two, when people come to you, they know what to expect. So for instance, if I look at my personal values, and I'll just take one of them. So I have 6, collaboration is one of my core values. But what that means is, and there should be a validation statement after that, because collaboration could be interpreted many different ways. But with me, it's all interaction is two-way communication. That means when you work with me, I don't just dictate to you. It's either I'm teaching you and there's got to be feedback, or I'm asking you something and I need honest response. And it's always collaborative. Because when you're building a brand, I do not create your brand, Steve, or anybody. As a brand builder, I do not create your brand. What I do is I identify what your true inner brand is, and I coax it out. And then what we do is we go through some other exercises and we flesh it out. And then I show it to you and go, here's what your brand is based on who you are, a lot of foundational elements, and what you're looking to achieve. And there's a lot more to it. Brand strategy is deep and dynamic, but I'm oversimplifying it. But values, it's a huge part of it, Steve.
I love that. And, I remember working with earlier on in the show, and obviously friendship with Cameron, and he was working with you, and you were helping him with his brand, both event staffing. And one of the things that he told me, you told him, or maybe you and I had talked about this, I can't remember, but he liked wearing the pink tie, the pink shirt, and you said, okay, pink is fine, it's a differentiator, but why pink? What's the core reason behind it, right? And I love the fact that you had challenging that, not I think I say it in that intro video, right? Being different for the sake of being different, but why? There needs to be a why behind it, and it doesn't reflect your brand, right? Do you recall telling Cameron that, or is that my own imagination?
I remember vividly when I sat down with Cameron and talked about it, and it was really kind of he hired me for a very specific thing. It wasn't full on brand strategy, but we were looking at a few different things that he can use right away. And it was more of a consulting type situation. So what happened was, one of the fastest ways a person can establish a brand is through visuals. So the visuals could be color, it could be style, it could be dress, it could be typography, it could be imagery. But if you yourself were to exude your brand, one of the triggers, now it doesn't mean, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Just because you wear a color doesn't mean you have a brand, right? It's just like dropping F-bombs every other sentence doesn't make Gary Vee who he is. It's the message, right? It's the man. But what happens is, a color like pink for Cameron is a trigger for people, so that he embraced it so much that he wears it, he projects it in his backdrops, his Zoom backdrops, in his company literature, his market, everything. He adds pink. So what happens is, what he stands for and the reputation of his company and all that is triggered by the color pink in his industry. That's why it was so important. It wasn't that pink was a magical color for him. It was a color he chose. He could have done the same thing with lime green. The point is this: the other thing that makes the difference is, what is the competition doing? Not because you want to emulate them, because you want to do the opposite. Branding is being different. So sometimes the answer is, what are they all doing? Oh, let me make sure I'm very different from them, and that includes the visuals.
That's amazing. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, which is crazy. Like, here's the bottom line, community. Reach out to Rob. You want to learn more? You do a 30-minute one-on-one with Rob. Get some time with him. I mean, I just grab the crumbs off the table when Rob's in the house as far as branding is concerned. Certainly I've created a brand, and Rob has been very complimentary about the Master Connector brand and what I'm doing there. But a lot of that is because of what I've learned from Rob. So make sure you reach out to Rob. But we're getting at the end of the show. I just want to remind everybody, again, thank you, community, for being on here. Thanks for participating. We love and appreciate you. Wednesday next week, May 1st, we're going to be doing Find a Way Every Day with Merrill Hodge. Merrill is an interesting guy. You got to come see him. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, like Alex did, make sure to go to masterconnector.show. But we're just so grateful for you. And anything final words, Rob? But I'm gonna we're gonna close this down. Anything you want to share, or you want me to just close it right down here, sir?
Yeah, just real quick. As far as branding is concerned, it is very nuanced. It's very hard to understand unless you're taught by somebody who can direct you personally. But I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if anybody wants to connect, find me on LinkedIn, Rob Genovesi. You can't miss me. Build strong brands. I work with mid to large size companies. I work with a lot of individuals. But I'm always supplying value on there. If you want to learn more about branding, just follow me on LinkedIn. And I put out content daily to help you understand how to build your brand.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. And I was listening to Rob. He did an amazing job at the show last week, and we had on Dr. Stephen Shaya. And obviously, I talk about being the light, but he said something which really resonated with me, which is, what's your influence, right? And hopefully, you are uplifting somebody, and your influence is a positive influence. But whether you want to, say be the light, or just make sure you're influencing somebody, make sure that you make a difference with somebody today. And listen, that personal brand can be a part of it, right? If you have a company, that company could be a part of it. Just make sure that you're really uplifting and encouraging someone in some way. Never. I learned this a long time ago. You don't make yourself bigger. You don't elevate yourself by knocking people's buildings down. You don't make your building taller that way. It may look like it's taller, but that's not the way to do it. You build yourself up, and you build yourself up through building others up, and a rising tide raises all ships. So love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have an amazing rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Can't wait to see you with Meryl Hodge and Mr. Rob G. Appreciate you guys.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.